You know, Totri, I've felt really good this entire time. We've talked about Kenny Dillingham isn't going anywhere, but I'm going to be honest with you, a little worried about the shirt color choice for you today. Really? Blue?
It's okay. My agent's been in touch with Michigan. That's all I can say at the moment. Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, of course, presented by Branded Bills. Make sure you head to brandedbills.com and use that code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by Senor Rubis, known by the United States government as Erik Ruby, allegedly.
Maybe.
We've got the deli man behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Rob, Oso, Kevo, Jacob, the Green M&M, bunch of Arizona State folks, and I'm sure Michigan folks and fans of other teams in the chat as well, ready to continue talking about Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State Sun Devils, specifically that Michigan head coaching vacancy, Erik, that continues to be open at this point in time. Hopefully we get some resolution on that situation over the course of the next couple days. We are going to be talking Arizona State men's basketball at the tail end of today's show, so make sure you stick around for Love the Play and Buy the Numbers and all of those things at the tail end of today's show. Couple of things, though, Rubis, that we need to hit, and first and foremost is with this Michigan head coaching vacancy, everyone's talking about two guys, Kenny Dillingham and Alabama's Kalen Deboer, but I think we're on the same page here. Kalen Deboer to Michigan doesn't really solve Arizona State's Kenny Dillingham's problem.
You know, it solves the Michigan one, but it opens up a whole other door. I mean, look, let's be honest here. From a non-Arizona State perspective, Kalen Deboer going to Michigan would cement this as probably the craziest coaching cycle in college football history, if it's not already cemented in there. Because then you go from, okay, Michigan, which, yes, for sure, blue blood program. Now they've had quite a history and they have quite a lot that they're dealing with right now when it comes to off the field things. If the Alabama job opens up, from a non-Arizona State perspective, man, that means another high-profile job is going to be opening up after that, because if you don't think Alabama is going to go get a high-profile coach, then you don't know Alabama. It kind of feels like if that happens, this is going to drag on for a long time.
I mean, if you just go back and look at when that Alabama job came open, a couple years ago, Saban left, Bama premier job opens. You have Deboer leaves Washington. Washington comes available. Jed Fish leaves Arizona. Arizona becomes available. Brent Brennan leaves San Jose State. San Jose comes available. Like, it's what it is. It's a cycle. It's a domino effect of all of these schools. And I think you didn't see a ton of that this previous coaching cycle, right? James Franklin had already been fired from Penn State. He goes to VT. You look at, some of the other schools like Florida pulling from a smaller school. Ole Miss, obviously, promoting from within. LSU was the big one, right? Firing Brian Kelly midseason and then poaching Lane Kiffin. But you didn't see a bunch of those openings like we did a few years ago when that Bama job came open. I think this would be a different situation. I think if Deboer left for Michigan, and if you think Michigan's entertaining Kenny Dillingham the same way that Penn State was entertaining Kenny Dillingham, then all eyes, again, come back to, is Alabama going to be going for Kenny Dillingham, right? Now, whether that is realistic to throw out there right now is something that I think you kind of have to wait and see. But I think the last thing that you possibly want in this situation is for the Alabama job to open up. I think, again, Arizona State, has the ability to nip this in the butt before any of this other stuff happens, which we'll get to a little bit later on in the show with Michael Crow. And I do want to give Ralph some credit on some amazing things that he had to say in a 12-minute, little like pen pal note to Michael Crow. But the last thing you need is another high-profile job opening up with Kenny Dillingham's name being tossed around, right? Like, let it be Jed Fish. Go get the fisherman from Washington and put him up in your program. Go get Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. Go get him. Do anything other than getting Kalen Deboer and opening up that Alabama job, because I think that just puts us right back at the very start of this whole thing.
Do you feel like if the Alabama job opens up, that changes how you feel about saying Kenny Dillingham won't leave this coaching cycle?
No.
You just think that it just causes more chaos, but it doesn't actually change the result.
No, I don't think he's leaving the cycle. And I think I've said that every show since the Michigan job even opened up of, I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's leaving. Now, the question then becomes, and I've seen this on social media from Michigan fans, of like, why wasn't that contract amended weeks ago, right? Why didn't Kenny get what he wanted weeks ago? Well, Kenny and this Arizona State athletic department kind of put this whole thing to bed, after a meeting that they had several weeks ago to this point in time, right? You were going to get, in theory, kind of what you wanted. And that whole Kenny to Penn State, Kenny to LSU, Kenny to Florida was kind of put to bed, right? Now Michigan job obviously opens up, and guess what? Kenny has leverage again, right? The same way that he did when all those other jobs were opening. Kenny's pushing the line here. He's pushing the envelope with he wants this program to be a contender. Well, to be a contender, you need a lot of resources. And resources, we're not talking about a couple $1 million. We're talking about $5, $10, $15, $20 million to be relatively competitive in this conference. And that is not even, in the conversation of like what Texas Tech is putting up for money, what Bama puts up for money, what Oregon puts up for money, right? So Kenny is going to, more likely than not, at the end of this Michigan search, in theory, there's probably going to be a discussion of like, hey, let's chill. Let's chill with, asking for all this every time a major job opens up. And we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Alabama opening up really changes my view on the situation, but you never know. We've talked about Michigan being a premier job in college football. Let's call it what it is. Alabama is the premier job in college football. And I don't know the avenues that the Crimson Tide would go to fill that position, right? Do you call Lane Kiffin and see how dry the ink is on that contract? Do you go pull from within the SEC? Do you go hire somebody that, is currently not coaching? Do you just call Nick Saban till your number is blocked, right? Like, what do you do to try and fill that job? It's going to be a very interesting cycle that wouldn't, it would certainly be the craziest coaching cycle that we've seen in our lifetime if Bama, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, Penn State,
Michigan,
all of these jobs open up, right, within this span. And again, that would leave potentially Arizona State open. That would leave a number of other jobs open if this does become a domino effect of Kalen Deboer goes to Michigan and we start all the way at the start of this,
Well, and I think you said something interesting where if that does happen, let's say the Alabama stuff does happen, at what point does Arizona State say enough, right? And I think, we all agree that they should give Kenny Dillingham all the resources that they can give. But you have to understand that these are people with egos, with agendas, with beliefs, and we know what Michael Crow believes and what he says about athletics and maybe what actions support or don't support what he says out loud. But at what point do you go, all right, man, look, we get it. We don't want you to go anywhere. We understand that you are getting interest from these other schools. We can only change so much in one off season, in one period of time. We're with you. We want to, give you what we can give you. We've agreed to give you more, but we can't just overnight become Alabama. Overnight become
They will
Michigan.
never be Alabama. Arizona State
right.
will never in our lifetime have or put up the money to compete with Alabama. Alabama's
Right.
what, over $120 million that they're spending on football? Arizona
Right,
State,
but
to my
in
knowledge,
general,
is
just being
spending
in that
like an
same
extra $3.5 million outside of like the revenue sharing.
And if Kenny keeps on leveraging those things, right, I think it's going to get to a point where they're going to be maybe calling his bluff. And I don't know what point that is or how you get there, but it does feel like if this continues through another coaching cycle, then I mean, we don't know what tensions are right now. We don't really know what the holdup is with an extension or with the extra money or with the resources. I can't imagine if this goes for weeks and weeks and weeks, and every time a job opens up, Kenny goes and leverages it, that's great for the relationship within the school. Even if it's his right to try to get as much as possible, you also have to understand that there have been major improvements to the funding of this football program, to his personal funding as far as his contract goes and his extension. His assistant coaches have been retained. His coordinators had been extended in the middle of the season last year. He had two of the highest.
You to take this position today, Rubis.
No, I like, we've spent so much time talking about it the other way to where I'm saying, like, I agree with everything as far as give Kenny Dillingham the keys, give him whatever he needs to be retained. But like, it comes to a point where you got to read the room. And if you get through the Michigan thing and you agree, okay, you know, we're going to give you more, we're going to keep you here, we're going to extend you, we're going to do all of that. And then the Michigan job, they hire Kalen Deboer. And then 3 days later, Kenny Dillingham goes back to the people that he just spent weeks with, you know, or his agent spent weeks with negotiating, and said, hey, by the way, the Alabama job's opened up. At what point does that goodwill, does that well run dry when it comes to
It's a very simple solution here. It's what you see in all of college football where you have a major coach, right? You have to pay them an exuberant amount of money. What was Brian Kelly's buyout? $50-something million, right? Mm-hmm. What was what's his nuts buyout? Jimbo Fisher, right? What's like nuts? You have to give these guys a good chunk of money to the point where it's like, okay, Alabama's got to buy you out. They got to give us $40 million, and then they got to go pay you. That's what it takes. If you want this to stop, you need to give him the money to where if Arizona State wants to fire him, then they got to give him an ungodly amount of money. If anybody else wants Kenny Dillingham, well, then that school has to give Arizona State an ungodly amount of money, and you need to put money into the program. We're not talking about chump change here. We're not talking about a few extra $100 bills that you find crumpled up in your pockets and it's like, wow, what a good day. We're talking about millions upon millions of dollars for right now, which in theory should increase. I saw somebody put it in the chat. Good football programs. Let's say you're investing an extra $10 to $15 million in the program in terms of like an NIL war chest, which, sorry, is still middle of the pack probably in the Big 12 in terms of competition. You've got Texas Tech putting up $30, $40 million of extra NIL money to do what they're doing, right? So 15, let's say 10. Let's say $10 million is what it takes to get this monkey off Arizona State's back. You're supporting the staff. You're supporting the program. Kenny's here, right? On top of giving him probably more money to where the buyout is just a ridiculous number for whoever wants to get him, or if Arizona State ultimately wants to fire Kenny at the end of the day, which I don't see that happening nearly anytime soon. But you also need to put somewhere in writing, which I imagine in my eyes, and again, I don't know, I know certain things, but I don't know specifically if this is at all a part of the discussion. I imagine it is. Kenny's a smart guy. His agent's a really smart guy as well. Where it's like, okay, Arizona State needs to put up $10 million in 2025 and 2026. Every year after that, there needs to be a 2.5% to 3% increase, or however much increase in money that Arizona State is investing in NIL to, again, continue for this to be, competitive. Because it's the market, right? The market for coaches. Coaches are getting paid more now than they've ever been paid. Players are getting paid more now than they've ever been paid. What do you expect that to look like 5 years from now, especially with the rate that the NCAA and the courts and everybody moves as it relates to NIL, right? They move slow as molasses when it comes to these things. I wouldn't be shocked if we're a half decade from now and we still don't have guidelines and rules for NIL collectives, money that, universities can actually throw out there. And we could have this conversation all day about finances, money, and NIL. But realistically, if that's how you want to put it, if I'm Kenny Dillingham, I want at a minimum $10 million that you are investing from 2025 to 2026 that, mind you, has nothing to do with revenue sharing. right? That's its own thing. This is different, specific to football. I want an additional $10 million, and I want a 3 to 5% increase in that $10 million year over year for the next 3 years, reopen to negotiate this in, 2.5 years based off of wins, right? Again, there's so much that goes into this, right? The university probably countering with like, okay, we will commit however much money, we'll do a 3 to 5% increase if Arizona State wins 8+ games in those years, right? Like there's so much that goes into this. It's not just like, oh, okay, we're going to give you $10 million. That's it. You're happy. Let's move on with the situation. There's so much that goes into this from a financial perspective. But if I'm Kenny Dillingham and if you're Arizona State, I imagine that's probably part of the holdup as well, Erik, is to what you said, where it's like Arizona State, Michael Crow and Graham Rossini, they don't want to be doing this every time a major job opens up. So it's about finding that middle ground of like, okay, this is where we're at now. This is where we'd like to be at, but we can't give you all of that right at this point in time based off of 3 years product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, if anybody understands where ASU is at and what ASU is as a program, it's Kenny Dillingham, right? And especially when it comes to like monetary investment. I mean, Kenny's been very frank about, hey, like the Valley gets activated when you're winning, right? You got to win and then they'll show up, not the other way around. I just think that there's this unique opportunity here to kind of press this accelerate button because, look, we're also not having this conversation if ASU is on a normal trajectory as a program and wasn't in the Big 12 championship last year.
Yeah, well, he rewrote normal.
Well, right. Even if they went 8-4 this year, but they got 6 wins last year, we're not having this conversation, right?
You might be.
I don't think we're having
that conversation. Depending on the trajectory and depending on the season, you can't sit here and tell me that this team, let's say they win 6 games last year, right? And you see all of the promise, you see all of, the trajectory of the program, you see all those things, and then they go 8-4 this year despite all the injuries. It doesn't matter. Like what matters is you have major universities, Penn State, Michigan, potentially others, calling, saying, okay.
Do they call if he hadn't won a Big 12
Dillingham
championship yet? Do they call the second youngest head coach?
I don't know, but it's a dramatic statement to say. It's a dramatic statement to say that Kenny wouldn't be asking for these things, or you can't demand.
Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't say he's not going to be asking for it. I think he'd be asking for an increased investment, right? Because the football program would obviously be in the right direction. But I do think that there's a different type of leverage and a different type of ask when you've won a Big 12 championship. And to be honest with you, and I think Kenny Dillingham is good enough to coach any college football program in the country. This is not me making a statement on Kenny Dillingham's ability to coach college football. But if you're looking at Michigan, Penn State, right? You're looking at Alabama potentially. There's no way in hell they're hiring a coach whose highest win total is 8 wins, even if with all the stuff that happened this year. The reason why Kenny Dillingham is in these conversations is because rightfully so, he put himself in it when he won a Big 12 championship in his second year and then followed that up with an 8-win season despite all the crap that they had to go through. Right? So I think Kenny understands he's in a unique position when it comes to leverage, not just because other teams are calling, but because he can sit in front of Crow, Rossini, whoever's making this final decision, whoever's ponying up the money.
At the end of the day, it's Michael Crow. Michael Crow makes all the final decisions as it relates to, we're talking again, millions of dollars.
And we say, okay, I won a Big 12 championship, right? I did this. I think the Valley would certainly be activated and bought in on this team a lot. I don't know if they sell out every single home game this year if they don't win the Big 12 championship last year. And that's conjecture at the end of the day, but I think it's given him an extra bit of edge, right? It's given him an extra bit of leverage in this situation. It's also like, it's a hard situation for ASU to be in. Not that I don't think the decision is, hey, give Kenny Dillingham the money, but we don't know what he's asking for. And everybody agrees that ASU, yes, they can pour more money in, but there's no way they can get to where these blue bloods are, not even just Bama, right?
But that's not what it's about, right? It's not like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's not about the tens of millions of dollars, right? It's about something completely different. And I want to hit that. I want to bring up something really, really great that Ralph had put out on social media. We're going to continue this Kenny Dillingham, Kalen Deboer, just the Michigan head coaching saga on the other side of our first break. Calling all Valley sports fans, we know the holiday season has arrived, and if you are still procrastinating on getting gifts for friends, family members, etc., well, we've got the perfect last-minute gift for you, or I should say, our friends over at Rally House. They've got the perfect last-minute gifts for you, whether you're an Arizona State fan, an Arizona fan, a Mercury fan, Suns fan, Diamondbacks, Cardinals. It doesn't matter, because Rally House has some of the best Valley sports merch in the game. Of course, I'm biased toward that Tempe Marketplace location because half the store is just Arizona State merch. From ASU flip-flops to cowboy hats to overalls to jerseys, it does not matter. They have something for everybody over at Rally House. Make sure you find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today.
Well, look, we're wearing Arizona State merch, we're wearing our fan gear, but you know that when it comes down to it on game day, what you're noticing is how loud we cheer and we celebrate hard, and maybe sometimes we want to forget about the games and the downsides as well. And always, it's an occasion for Three Amigos Tequila, a staple for Arizona fans and a staple for PHNX Sun Devils. If you watched our watch-alongs or our post-game shows during the highs and the lows of the season, we were enjoying just the best award-winning family-owned tequila founded in 1939 and crafted in Mexico with 100% Blue Weber agave. It's award-winning for a reason, smooth, bold, and made for moments that matter. Plus, during the holiday season, maybe you want to mix yourself a little drink, whether you're enjoying spending time with family or friends, or you need a little you time, a little decompressing time. And just as exciting as all the amazing things that Three Amigos can bring, now Three Amigos Blanco is available at our favorite spot. Of course, it's Circle K. So this season, tailgate, toast, and celebrate with the Valley's and PHNX's favorite tequila, Three Amigos. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and look, we got a lot of new faces in chat. Some Michigan fans, some new ASU fans, and some college football fans as well. If you've noticed, there are a lot of people in this chat with green names, whether it's Oso, whether it's Sharon, and so many people who are members of PHNX Sports. Not only do you get a prepaid super chat every single month that you are a member, you also get exclusive content, plus you get access to exclusive emojis as well. So if you're a Michigan fan and you want to spam a Kenny Dillingham emoji, well, you can do that by becoming a Supporters Club member. It's where that subscribe button is. You hit the subscribe button. Once you hit that, you hit the join button, just $5 a month. Really fun stuff. Link also in our chat right now. But if you're going to be here, might as well support us, right? Might as well hit the like button, the subscribe button, and become a member.
I think one of my favorite comments so far from a Michigan fan here, maybe the first one in days, is from Ryan. Says, let us borrow Dilly for 10 years. And then he can come back and be the savior for ASU after he grabs a few chips for Michigan. And then Sharon pretty much in the chat says, oh, thanks. How kind. How kind of thinking of little old us. Again, like when it comes to this situation, there's so much to consider, right? Financially with the program. There isn't really any movement on my side of things in terms of like Kenny leaving, Kenny staying, this team's still practicing for the bowl game. There isn't an expectation right now that Kenny Dillingham leaves Arizona State. Now, it does feel like the Michigan fan base, or at least the ones with the voices on Twitter and social media, they want Kenny. They would rather have Kenny than Deboer, I think, at this point in time. But I don't know what's going on in terms of like the bigwigs over in Ann Arbor, who they want, if they've even gotten to a point where they've, listed out, okay, these are our 6 final candidates. This is who we want. What I do know is all eyes are going to be on Alabama, Oklahoma on Friday night. Yeah. Because there is obviously the conversation of if Kalen Deboer and Alabama lose, right? If they lose to Oklahoma again this year, not is he fired at the end of the year, because I think that would be dramatic, but it's, okay, does Kalen Deboer go into 2026 on the hot seat, right, at Alabama? Which I think, again, different programs have different standards. The standards at Alabama is it feels like every few years you need to be competing for a national championship, and at the very least, you need to be competing at a high level in the SEC year over year to make the college football playoff. We know that by Alabama standards, Kalen Deboer hasn't necessarily met that. So if you go out there Friday and you lose to Oklahoma again, then there is serious conversation, I think, of like, okay, Deboer's on the hot seat in 2026. And I'll tell you what, Michigan, LSU, Florida, all these major jobs, they're not opening again in 365 days, right? So if you are Kalen Deboer, then I think there is something to explore there, depending on what happens in that game. Now, if Bama wins, I personally don't know how long Michigan waits after that to begin vetting other candidates seriously, right? Because you can't wait at least another week with the portal opening on the 2nd. You can't move at that point.
Well, and we've heard reports, again, we don't know what is 100% true or not because we're not in those rooms, vetting people for Michigan, but that Jedd Fisch is out of the conversation at Washington if he's taken off the board. I think there were some people citing that it was off-field issues for Jedd, or that Michigan really doesn't want any other types of scandals, and people are wondering, well, what would that be? I think my guess, and again, this is just a guess, would be the Jayden de Laura stuff at Arizona, who Jayden de Laura had a case, and Jedd Fisch took him in and then started him over Noah Fafita. And then Noah Fafita eventually comes in because Jayden de Laura gets injured, and then obviously the rest is history. But I don't know if that's what that was, and they just really don't want anybody that has even a blip on their track record. But who knows if it's going to be Jedd Fisch, and again, then that opens up the Washington job. Hey, Kalen Deboer to Washington? Anybody?
How about Brent Brennan to Washington? Let's just keep that Arizona to UW train going.
Who's coaching San Jose State right now? I think they'd fit in great in Tucson. Which, we don't like to give love to the Wildcats team, but we love our Wildcats counterparts here at PHNX. Good friend of ours, Damon and Kevin, they're having Brent Brennan on today. So if you're a Wildcats fan in here, which I know there are some in here trying to give us crap, make sure you go support those guys. And they've got their head football coach over there on the show today. But back to ASU, I think the Michigan, how long are they going to wait aspect of this is also really important. We mentioned, okay, well, how often is ASU going to kind of put up with this crap, right? And by crap, it's well-deserved crap, and Kenny's doing the right thing in his position, but still crap nonetheless. How long is Michigan going to be, teased, led astray, right, by a guy that they don't even know if he's even seriously considering taking the job? If it's not Deboer, if it's not Dillingham, if it's not Fisch,
it's Anthony Totri.
The blue.
That's why I'm wearing the blue today, man.
No, not Totri. No.
That would definitely be the craziest curveball ever. If you got like a morning text or a morning notification from Pete Thamel being like, breaking, Anthony Totri, podcast host, is the next head coach of the Michigan Wolverines.
Well, how would I see handling the breaking news pod? I'd be like, dude, you got to come on.
Yeah, I think
you got to be on.
I think that'd be fair. I think I would definitely be able to do a segment or two with you at that point in time. I'd have to talk to my team, of course, just to make sure,
whatever's in your contract for sure.
But getting to, again, kind of the Arizona State side of things again, because this is all the what ifs, right? The timeline, the what ifs, when in theory, Michael Crow can nip this thing in the butt pretty quickly, right? And I know there are larger, more complicated things at play here when it comes to money. It's easy for us to just say, hey, invest X amount of money into the program. There's far more that goes into just ASU giving Kenny Dillingham and the program $10 to $15 million more
$10 to $15
to throw at NIL players, coaches, etc. Right? There's so much more that goes into play here. But I think Ralph put this, and Ralph did a phenomenal job, and I want to give Chris Cartman some credit too, because he wrote a column that, at least as of the time that I read it, was completely free. I highly encourage after the show you go read it, because it is, he penned an awesome piece about Michael Crow and his legacy at Arizona State. As Michael Crow is one of the most influential people in the state of Arizona, and really has been for the last 2 decades, right? In terms of developing the university, developing downtown Phoenix, all sorts of things. Having Arizona State be synonymous with innovation across the country, as much as like students kind of joke, hey, never won an innovation again, right? Like on a realistic scale, that's what it is. It's what people associate Arizona State with. But Ralph in his video called athletics the front porch of the university. And I thought that was just a beautiful way to realistically put it, right? And we had kind of addressed this the other day, because we had diehards going back and forth of like, oh, if it was like you had to pick one, Crow or Dilly, right? Which one are you going with? And so many fans are pro Dilly because they don't go to Arizona State anymore, right? You don't go to classes anymore. I only go to classes to teach them, right? Shane doesn't go to classes anymore. Like a good chunk of the largest student population, right, of a public institution of Arizona State doesn't attend Arizona State anymore. the only thing that's their direct tie is athletics, specifically college football, right? When you see that Sparky logo, you don't think Arizona State, the university. You think Arizona State football, right? Now, of course, that's how they get you in and let the university do whatever it does from that point on. But that's the first thing people see. That's the first thing people think of, whether they're previous students, they're current students usually, or post college career. They think of athletics as the gateway, their entry to the university. So this is an opportunity, and this is kind of what Chris Cartman had to say in his column. This is an opportunity for Michael Crow to almost put like the finishing touches on what's going to be remembered as an incredible legacy as an Arizona State president and chancellor. Give Kenny Dillingham, a coach that is widely viewed here in the Valley as the most like genuine, lovable, just badass coach that Arizona State has had in 2+ decades. Give him what he needs, right? And even at the end of the day, you're not giving him what he quote unquote needs. If we're talking about realistically, if you could just give him a blank check, we're talking about $25 to $30 million, not 10 to 15, right? So give him what he needs or give him what he wants at this point in time and just let him go do what he's been doing for the last several years. There's no point in blowing it all up, blowing the entire legacy up, which I think realistically, it would definitely be a tainted legacy if he let Kenny go, right? And go to Michigan, go to wherever. There is no point in doing that over millions of dollars, which in theory, Kenny Dillingham has showed you that he's very capable of turning that money into wins.
Yeah. A couple of things. One, I just got a confirmation Ralph will be on the show tomorrow. So if you want to hear some more from Ralph, and again, I agree with you. He did a great job. Also did a great job in Spaces last night. He'll be on PHNX Sun Devils tomorrow. Two, you shouldn't have to choose. As a premier university, as a premier institution, Ohio State is a well-respected academic institution. Michigan is a well-respected academic institution, right? Washington is a well-respected academic institution. A lot of Notre Dame is a very well-respected academic institution. It's very hard to get into Notre Dame. A lot of these schools that are the best or have been competing for a national championship at some point in the last 10 years are widely regarded as great academic institutions. And Michael Crow even said that. I mean, there's this clip of Michael Crow going around from a couple of weeks ago. I think Justin Lacertosa, I think he's the one who posted it out there, of him being like, we got to be on the same level as these schools, not just, academically, but also athletically. And he mentioned Ohio State, right? And when you look at it that way, the fact that we are sitting here and it's like one or the other, one or the academics or athletics, there's no reason for it not to be both, right? What's that? The commercial, ¿Por qué no los dos? Like, why can't we just have both? Okay. Because they do go hand in hand. And the money that you pour into football, I believe you have seen a return where you're going to see that money back, right? And keeping your boosters happy. Look, I get it. A majority of the fans aren't in school anymore and are football fans. Not a majority of the fans are boosters and big donors to the program. Everybody does their part with Sun Angel. And I know a lot of people in the chat do their monthly donations and give what they can, which is very admirable.
Which isn't what we're talking about.
Right. Which isn't what we're talking about at all. There's not like, you guys should keep on doing that because it does make a difference, but that's not why Kenny Dillingham is in a meeting right now. He's talking about chunks of change that none of us could pony up. Right. But Michael Crow is not just at risk of pissing off the many and all the fans and the alumni. There are some big, important alumni for Arizona State University who put lots and lots of money, not just into the football program, but into the university as a whole, that would not be happy if Kenny Dillingham walked out that door. Michael Crow has notoriously underrated the importance and the impact of athletics on the university as a whole. And I think part of that has been he has not sustained a culture that has been given a good return on investment when it comes to athletics, which, again, not the fans' fault, but the administration's fault, the organization's fault. This is the first time for Michael Crow that he's really being put in a position where the proof has been in the pudding. We've seen the results. Championship level success for the most high profile, front facing, money driving sport in football. You have a fan base that is, I know we joke about it, but is activated. You have a coach that's wanted by Penn State, by Michigan. We're talking about if Alabama opens up, they could be knocking on the door for Kenny Dillingham. You don't get this opportunity often as the president of a university. You can't mess this up, man. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. There's zero reason why you should mess this up. Do you know how much money the university raised in terms of fundraising in the fiscal year 2025?
It's got to be at least $1 billion.
In the fiscal year 2025, which ended in June, ASU raised $630 million.
Okay.
In philanthropic gifts, and the university trying to move that base amount anywhere between $400 and $600 million in the current fiscal year. We're not talking about a university that is begging for money. We're talking about a university that is very, very capable, as we've seen very recently, of being able to raise significant amounts of money. Significant amounts of money. Mm-hmm. This is not a money issue. This is not what it's just not. I know there are people out there, Michigan fans, as of late, saying, hey, we just have more money. We just have more donors. It's very clear that Arizona State, as the largest public institution, public university in the world, is very capable of putting up millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars if they really, really wanted to. That's what it comes down to, is how much are you willing to pony up? More so than you've ever done before, because that's what it's asking. That's what Kenny's asking for, is more so than Arizona State is realistically ever committed to putting up for college football, right? And it feels like this is the perfect opportunity to, make the fans whole again. Because I think even with Graham Rossini here, and I think he's done a phenomenal job since being named the athletic director a couple years back, there is still a distaste and a distrust with the ASU fan base to the administration, right? When people, specifically Arizona State fans, think of Michael Crow, what do they think of? They think of Ray Anderson. And when you think of Ray Anderson, who do you think of? You think of Herm Edwards, right? Whether that's right or wrong, because at the end of the day, Ray's last hire was Kenny Dillingham, right? But that's what the administration is tied to. The way that situation ended. The fact that Ray Anderson was getting paid to teach a singular class at Arizona State after he left that position, still getting paid $1 million to teach a singular class, which I'll tell you what, as somebody who's taught several classes at Arizona State, have not come anywhere near the $1 million that Ray Anderson was getting paid. Or the Herm Edwards, right? Where it was a mutual parting of ways. He didn't get fired, right? It was a mutual parting of ways so that he could save face, tuck his tail, and march his happy ass back to Connecticut to go work for ESPN. That's what it was, if you want to call it that. And the fan base was livid. They were pissed, and a good chunk of them still are. Why would you trust the administration after that, if you're a sports fan? Why would you trust an administration led by Ray Anderson at a certain point that told you, hey, point blank period, we're not going to really do this whole NIL thing. We don't really think it's going anywhere. We don't believe in it. And then a couple years later, when the whole country's doing it, Arizona State is just scratching and clawing to make up some ground. That's where you're at. Regardless of whether it's right or wrong, that's how a good chunk of the fan base feels toward the administration. So if you want to extend that olive branch, and I get it's an expensive ass olive branch, but guess what? You got to pay for your mistakes. This is where you start. This is where you say, you know what? We really fudged up in the past. We had our mistakes. We didn't go about certain things the way that we wanted to, but we hear you. We hear the Arizona State fan base. We know that we've got a golden goose in Kenny Dillingham, that Penn State and other programs, Michigan, etc., would love to have at their programs. We have a guy that wants to be here, and we understand it's going to cost us money, and you know what? We're not going to make the same mistake twice. We're going to invest in college football. No, we can't invest right now what Texas Tech and Oregon and all these other schools are doing, but damn it, you know what? We're going to put the right foot forward for our fan base, for our community, for our institution, and we are going to put up X amount of money so that everybody knows where we stand when it comes to college football. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is simple when you break it down like that. There's a lot that I feel like I got to respond to or just add on to with that. We're late for a break, so I'll get into it on the other side of this.
Look, this holiday season, whether it's your grandparents, your cousins, aunts, uncles, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and put them up over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Of course, during the holiday season, the house is filled with people. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I'd prefer if my family just put me up at Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, Vequiva, Santan Mountain, just so I could do my own thing. And that's really the case when you go over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. And they got something for everybody. If you want to make some money, well, do it on the gaming floor. If you want to kick back and watch sports, well, head to the sports book. If you want to hang out by the hot tub or go get a steak dinner, you could do that as well. Look, with an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement that you're not going to find anywhere else in the desert. They haven't just set a high bar, they've kicked the damn ceiling down over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. One thing you always got to remember, though, is you do you at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
Look, Christmas is coming up, folks. It's very, very soon. And if you're still looking to get the perfect holiday gift, or I'm going to be honest with you, guess what? Gift giving doesn't stop at Christmas. You've got birthdays, anniversaries, other holidays coming up in the new year. So make sure you get the best gift that's also pretty easy for you to find. It's Aura Frames. Sometimes you're hunting for the perfect gift. It's got to be personal, but not too over the top. But also, it's got to have a little extra flavor to it. And Aura Frames has that all wrapped in one. And not only do I say that because a gift box is included with every frame, they're packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. But what's inside the box? Well, it's a picture frame where you can have unlimited free photos and videos. All you have to do is download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi. And you can preload the photos before it ships. Plus, you can personalize the gift as well. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code PHNX at checkout. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code PHNX. The deal's exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. A great comment from the green M&M in there saying, I can't wait to retire and move to Michigan. Oh, wait, nobody does that. Yeah, nobody does do that. Again, there's the little things, right? There's the weather. There's all sorts of stuff. There's the family, like the fact that Kenny's got a 3-year-old and Christmas is in 7 days. I don't know if we're moving Kent.
Kent doesn't want to go to Ann Arbor.
Breaking. Put it on a graphic. Kent Dillingham doesn't want to move. I think that graphic would play. I think that thing would be absolutely hilarious. Kent Dillingham doesn't want to move to Ann Arbor. I think that's fair for Kent, for Kenny, for everybody. Rubus, I really rambled there at the end. I'll let you respond to anything that you have from that.
I loved it, man. I think there's another thing, like Michael Crow has been walking this tightrope and has been so close to falling off so many times when it comes to athletics. Let's not forget that this is a guy who almost didn't make it to the Big 12. Like, let's take a second and realize
you're right.
Michael Crow basically had to be dragged away from the dying Pac-12 because he was stubborn. This is also a guy who was royally stupid when it came to the TV deal in the Apple TV play and all. Like, if ASU didn't move to the Big 12 and a real, actual big boy conference, we're talking about them in the same way as a Washington State, right? As an Oregon State. As these teams that are on a lower level now. We call it the Power 4, not the Power 5. ASU was almost outside of that. And that was because of Michael Crow. Michael Crow has been gift wrapped and handed a way to have goodwill with his athletic community for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he has.
After royally screwing up time and time and time and time again, he finally got a big one right. He hired Kenny Dillingham after the most embarrassing stretch in the football program's history. He stumbled across a young hometown kid who wanted to be in Tempe, who also happens to be a pretty damn good football coach. Hired him instead of a guy like Deion Sanders, hired him and brought him in to fix the culture, to fix the program, and damn it, he did it. And then he won a Big 12 championship. And then he sold out every single home game. And now he has fans outpouring on social media, every single which way, emailing him about how much this means to him. Michael Crow has been handed an opportunity on a silver platter to finally buy permanent goodwill with the fan base when it comes to athletics. Nobody has bad will with Michael Crow when it comes to academics. And he can boast that all he wants. And this decision doesn't change that either way. He has never been afforded an easier opportunity to do the right thing. Unfortunately, he has been having a track record of having to be dragged away from doing the wrong thing when it comes to athletics. It is a precarious situation that's going to have drastic consequences if he messes this up. And the answer is simple. And that's why it kind of feels like a problem, because when these big questions have come by with seemingly simple answers, Michael Crow has usually been the guy who's zigged when everybody else is zagging.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And again, I think you put it simply. You've never had an easier opportunity than to extend that olive branch to the Arizona State athletic community and say, you know what? Here we go. We apologize for all the other BS that happened before. We understand our mistakes as an athletic department. We've corrected those mistakes. And you know what? We're committed to this. Long-term, committed to this guy who wants to be here, and we'll do it that way. It's a layup. It's just a $15 million layup. That's it. That's all it's going to cost. So it's not just like, hey, we're going to do this. I get there's millions of dollars here, but we're talking about university money. Right? We're not talking about money that comes straight out of Michael Crow's pocket. We're talking about Arizona State University in that money. So there is a larger thing, and I do think we get a resolution to this situation and saga before Christmas, because I don't see anybody realistically waiting that long. I don't think Michigan wants to wait that long. I don't think Kenny wants to wait that long. I don't think Crow and Rossini want to wait that long when it comes to this type of situation. Again, I think we've all been pretty steadfast here in our opinion that he's not going to go anywhere this cycle because of, just the way that he is. And I think this has been the funniest part. Maybe not the funniest part, but like the part for me where it's just like so very clear that like college football is so different outside of Arizona State right now. Because when Kenny says something, it's like you take him at his word, right? Because he hasn't given you a reason not to. Right? There have been instances where he could have said X, Y, and Z, and ultimately he just shows up. He's Kenny Dillingham through and through. It's what he promised at his introductory press conference, that guy that you were getting up there was the guy you were going to get at every other step, right? When it came to this stuff, when it came to practices, meetings, rebuilds, transfers, etc. You were getting that version of Kenny Dillingham every single day. And so for somebody a couple of weeks ago to say what he said, to have other conversations, it's just for somebody that loves Arizona State. And again, there's other things that I'm just not going to share. They're like, you're not going to up and leave your program at this point in time. And that's what it is. It's his program, right? There are other schools, there are other, like if you were to go to Michigan, it wouldn't be Kenny Dillingham's program, right? It's the program of Michigan, which I get. Kenny Dillingham would never say publicly, hey, Arizona State's my program. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what it is. It's his program. It's his child, right? To like nurture into what he believes can be a competitive powerhouse in all of college football. And he's doing the hard things right now to get it. The uncomfortable things, the things that have the fan base, a little nervous and eerie before the holiday season. I get it. I get it's uncomfortable. I get it's not where you want to be. But somebody that cries when talking about Arizona State a number of different times also wouldn't be the reason that this program burned down. Which, again, I get it would not be all on Kenny if he left. It would be a wild thing to say that if Kenny Dillingham left, that this is all Kenny's fault. Because it wouldn't be. A good chunk of it would be on the athletic department. A very, very good chunk would be on the athletic department. But again, you can't say the things that you've said. You can't react emotionally the way that you've reacted. And then at the end of the day, when you don't get what you want, leave. And then what happens? The program that is Arizona State would cease to exist as to what we know it as today.
Yeah, I mean, everything would fundamentally change. And honestly, that's something that I was planning on unpacking with Ralph tomorrow, just exploring what does happen if Kenny leaves. Because again, we all don't think that that's going to happen, but I think that we keep on mentioning, okay, well, it'll be catastrophic, right? This is the right decision. Like, you have to do this. Why? Right? And it's not just a football thing.
Yeah.
I think Kenny Dillingham leaving, just to give a taste of what I think we dive into tomorrow, is, Kenny Dillingham leaving isn't just a blow to the football team. It's a blow to overall athletic ASU morale and alumni pride. That's what's riding on the line here. It's not just football attendance, and it's not just a record at the end of the year. Like, there's a lot more to it. It's an unfortunate and a fortunate situation to be in at the same time. Now, you're fortunate because now ASU might have their hand forced to be more competitive when it comes to NIL and spending money. And we both think that at the end of the day, that is what the resolution is going to be here in Tempe. It's unfortunate because now we're spending weeks and weeks and days and hours on end talking about, not something that's happening as far as the actual football program itself leading up to a bowl game and whatnot. And this entire time, I know, like, we'll take subtle jabs at Michigan because it's fun, it's college sports, why not? But nobody's saying that Michigan isn't a good job, right? Even with all the other
great job
they have. Yeah, even
great
with all
job.
the other crap
I'd
they have
take it in a heartbeat. As somebody who went to Arizona State, me personally, sure, offer me that job. I'll take it. Let's go.
You're going to get a ton of money. Nobody's disagreeing with that. You'll have a bigger sandbox to play in when it comes to money than Arizona State. Nobody's disagreeing with that. You have a better pedigree when it comes to college football than Arizona State. Nobody's disagreeing with that. If it was anybody else but Kenny Dillingham right now, that coach is probably already gone, if we're being completely honest, right? Like, that coach is probably already signed, sealed, delivered over in Michigan. That's what the difference is, and that's why this isn't happening, is because it's not somebody else. It's Kenny Dillingham. It's by no means disrespecting what Michigan has going on. The campus, the weather, whatever. The weather is better here, but still, like,
it's not even close. Let's get that. Let's get out of the way.
Right.
Stop trying to say the weather's better. I've seen people. There was a comment earlier. We got more coastline than California. It's fine. I don't care how much beach you have. Nobody talks about the beaches in Michigan, dude.
Yeah.
Not a single soul would rather go to the beach in Ann Arbor than go to the beach in California. Not a single soul in the United States of America.
Look, and again, we can joke or whatever. U of M job's a great job. It's a blue blood job, and it's opened up, and whoever gets it, it's a big time job, right? These jobs don't come open often unless it's the winter of 2025. At the end of the day, I don't think that matters right now. You can talk about it all you want. Oh, they're going to offer him money and he would be so much better set up for. I don't think he cares. I think he wants to make this place better, and that's why this is happening. Not because he's actually entertaining going to Michigan.
I do appreciate all the Michigan fans in the chat. Goats in the chat saying, let's all unite and support Kenny, whether he stays at ASU or goes to the University of Michigan. We'll see. He ain't going anywhere. So get ready to sign up for Sparky, baby. That's what I'll say at that point.
Get ready to learn maroon and gold.
Get ready to learn Sun Devil, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we are going to hit our final break. We're going to wrap this up and then talk some ASU hoops before we call it a day. But again, this is our final break.
Well, before we go to our final break, while we're at the break, Michigan fans, you can go check out Pete Thamel's tweet, who just there might be some new coaching candidates for you.
There are a bunch of universal truths in life. One thing that ASU fans need to be, living with is that, Kenny Dillingham coaching rumors are going to become a universal truth as long as he is the truth. And of course, everybody, including Kenny Dillingham, is going to need a checking account. So why not get a checking account with built-in benefits just for you? I'm talking offers on travel and events, loan rate discounts, identity protection, telehealth access, mobile phone protection, and restaurant deals. And where can you get that? Of course, it's Mountain America Credit Union. We know that Mountain America Credit Union is a proud sponsor of Arizona State University and very invested in Arizona State football. They donate $250 to support university athletics for every field goal made. They provide $20,000 in scholarships to local student athletes each year, and they sponsor a shoe donation program to award brand new shoes to community members in need. Not only is Mountain America dedicated to guiding the future of ASU athletics forward, but also guiding their members and communities forward. You can learn more about their involvement with ASU, plus what you can get for yourself out of Mountain America. Learn more at macu.com/ASU. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit.
Today is one of the best days of the year, in all honesty, and that's because over at Circle K, well, Rubus, it's an Inner Circle Fuel Day, which means you guys can save 40 cents off per gallon when you fill up till the end of the day today, 11:59 p.m. Go to your nearest Circle K location, and if you are an Inner Circle member, type in your phone number at the pump, and boom, you guys are going to start saving. I literally needed gas yesterday. I held off just to fill up on my way to work this morning. Cost me like $30 total to fill up the entire tank of my car. Again, that is Circle K. They're trying to help you save money every single day, but especially on their Inner Circle Fuel Days. Make sure you take advantage. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. See a bunch of Michigan fans talking about the ASU logo, saying that they love it. We appreciate it. Wanikin, yeah, man, filled up your gas tank for sure. Do we want to wrap this up, the coaching conversation, before we move on to hoops?
Punctuation.
Yeah.
Wanikin punctuation.
Yeah.
Congrats, man. Yeah, I just, look, just let's get the news, man. Let's just get the news. Kenny Dillingham's been extended by Arizona State. They've come to agreement, new NIL, new investment, all of that. Let's get that done. Tomorrow's game,
we'll be live right here, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tomorrow's game, Alabama, Oklahoma. I don't think ASU fans expected to be as invested in that one as they're going to be.
Do we have any predictions for that game? Shane's got one. I see it on his face.
I think Oklahoma wins by 3.
They can't lose them again, right?
They can't, but Bama's been stinky lately.
Well,
Dude.
they stunk it up against Georgia.
They didn't look good against Auburn.
They've been whining too.
Yeah.
Well, we've been in.
I think Alabama wins.
You think Bama wins?
Yeah. I just like Mateer's fine. He hasn't been very good.
There's Simpson though.
Yeah, but they don't need Simpson to be good. They need Mateer to be good.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with give me Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma in that game. I think that's what happens, and then we'll see. Then get ready for an interesting weekend of Kalen Deboer to Michigan. Kenny Dillingham speaks to the media on Saturday post practice. Of course, that'll be up on our YouTube channel. We'll be live if anything major happens.
Dude, they have to be aiming for getting this thing done before that. It have to be, because this is their last practice, right?
Saturday is.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, before they get to El Paso.
So, I mean, they have to be aiming for that date. Have to be.
Yeah, otherwise this whole thing gets a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
So
and a lot worse.
Yeah, a lot worse. A lot worse. But of course, we'll be right here live on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you want to continue to follow along with all things Arizona State football, give the show a follow on social at PHNX_Sun Devils. Rubus, it is time to talk about Bobby Hurley's Arizona State Sun Devils here for a short bit. The Sun Devils, unfortunately, falling short on the road against UCLA. They battled, but it was 90-77. Sun Devils unable to fight back despite a remarkable shooting performance from the charity stripe. I never thought I would say those words, talking about a Bobby Hurley basketball team. But they were 25 of 26 or 26 of 27 from the charity stripe? Unbelievable numbers for Hurley's squad, Rubus.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that comes in a loss. This is just one of those games where UCLA just jumped out immediately, and ASU was playing from behind, which is something that they were able to do before, and they never really gave up. I would never say they were like fully out of it, even though it did look grim, but UCLA at home at the Pavilion, they came out, they got out to an early lead, and then they were just able to hit tough shots and able to kind of keep Arizona State at bay. Not a fun loss for ASU. I feel like we've been having fun a lot this season. I would say this might be the least amount of fun. And Shane, you can correct me if you feel differently. But it kind of feels like the least amount of fun.
I mean, this year I wouldn't call it I wouldn't say it wasn't fun. They got it down to I think 4 at one point. Like they battled back in this game. I mean, here, let's just get into by the numbers. You can see the biggest number that matters. It's pretty evident.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do by the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. That the only number that matters is that final score at the end of the day. UCLA outlasting Arizona State 90-77. The Bruins shooting a crisp 47% from the field. Arizona State 40%, but I think this is the number Shane was referring to. From three-point land, it was an onslaught, 54% for UCLA to just 15% for Hurley's Devils. Rebounds, teams were button heads, 35 apiece. In terms of fast break points, UCLA had the edge, 18-8, and then turnovers forced, 11 for the Bruins and 8 for ASU. Deli-Man, I imagine you were referring to the three-point percentages between these two teams.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's
4 of 26 for the Sun Devils from 3. I mean, you're just not going to win many games when that's where you're at. Especially against a team that's coached by Mick Cronin. Say what you want about him, and I've been pretty outspoken about Mick Cronin. I don't like him. If I had an elite athlete son that was playing basketball, which I don't, Mick Cronin may be the last coach in America that I would have him go play for, because I think he's a scumbag. But his teams play hard, and ultimately you're just, you're not going to win games when you shoot 15% from 3.
Well, and when the opposing team shoots 54. And some of them were open off some really good ball movement. Even on transition, they were finding guys behind the line. Like they leaned into the 3 ball because they knew that they were hitting it. And sometimes it was poor closeouts, poor defensive communication, and guys were pretty open. They were also hitting some pretty deep, tough threes as well. And unfortunately, sometimes in college, if a team is hot from 3 and they get out to an early lead, it does make it a little bit more difficult for you to claw your way back in, even if you're hitting your free throws. And I think it was 6 points that they made it back to. Maybe it was lower, but I feel like it might have been 6. But
5.
5. And it was right after that I believe UCLA hit a couple really big shots and some big layups on the fast break, some and ones, and then a couple of threes. And immediately that lead had kind of ballooned back up. It's backbreaking stuff, when you're playing on the road as well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really change my opinion about this basketball team. I think that maybe you can question a little bit of the depth on a night in, night out basis, especially because we had seen some better performances from the bench the last couple of days. Also, they were missing Bryce Ford last night as well, which is a pretty big addition, even though Pig Johnson's been very good, but him off the bench brings a different type of spark. So, it sucks, but you move on, you flush it. The team still fought. It wasn't embarrassing. And I think that with the start of the game and at certain points, it probably could have gotten that way. So kudos to them for fighting, but at the end of the day, UCLA is a better team.
Michael with a $1.99 super chat. Mike, we appreciate you sending that super chat saying, good job, boys. Good job today, boys. Go Blue. We appreciate
we're converting them.
We appreciate all of the folks in the chat watching, whether you're Arizona State, Michigan. We welcome everybody here. And at the end of the day, it's sports, right? We're just going back and forth, having a good conversation about it. Getting back to Arizona State men's basketball, I know there's a couple folks in the chat. I think it was Z-Man talking about we need a Molly Miller type hire for men's hoops. We need a Dilly for Arizona State men's basketball. I think, again, we're still a ways away from the final decision on, Bobby Hurley's future at Arizona State. I think you round out non-con. This is very similar to what Bobby Hurley teams do in non-con. They play well against non-conference teams. I think, the real proof here is going to be when these Big 12 giants start coming to Tempe or vice versa. How does, Bobby Hurley's teams, how do they fight? Are they competitive? Do they win games? And at this point in Bobby's career at Arizona State, I feel comfortable saying that it's no longer about just showing up and being competitive. You have to win some of these games. You have to start stealing some of these games against the Houstons, the Iowa States, the Arizonas. Otherwise, you won't have a job this time next year, at least not at Arizona State. Getting back to the actual game, though, it is time for Love the Play, brought to you by our friends over at Arizona Lottery. Make sure you play and gift today. Daily Man, this feels like it has slowly become your segment as it relates to Arizona State men's basketball. What was your, or is your, Love the Play of the game?
How about a nice Pig Johnson and one of his only 6 points from the field late in that second half. Tough contest. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. It was one of the only few and ones of the game.
God, Pig Johnson's fun. And that's all I see, by the way, on social media when Arizona State men's basketball is playing, is it is all love for Pig Johnson. That's all.
How can you not?
I mean, I don't know how you can't love Oink Oink. What do you got, Erik? Do you have a Love the Play?
I think that one would have been it. I did enjoy, there was some Masamba Diop off the dribble, driving to the paint. Anytime he does something like that, it always gets me a little bit excited. And any of the threes that they hit, take your pick. There were so few of them that those were all the plays of the game.
Yeah, I guess you could pick any of the 4 threes.
Or just the free throw shooting, honestly.
Yeah, or the free throw shooting. Guys, that is going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils Show. Again, we really, really do appreciate everybody that stops by, watches live, after the fact, listens on audio. You genuinely make a difference, and we really enjoy being able to do this every single day with you guys. And I know Rubus and Ralph will be back at it tomorrow. I will be around if anything breaks, if there are any urgent situations as it relates to a plane to Ann Arbor, or if there is pen to paper on a contract, I will be available. So we certainly will be live if anything does happen. Like I said, we'll be over at Arizona State practice Saturday morning, so we'll have the latest for you guys when it comes to that. Make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button on your way out. And if you're listening in audio, 5-star review goes a long way wherever you get your podcast. And if you want to continue to follow us on social, well, you can do so at PHNX_Sun Devils. That is on X, and that is on Instagram as well. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You could follow Senor Rubis at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. You can follow the Deli Man at Shane Deef.
Tired of this shit as always.
And we will see you guys on Friday. In the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.